Hello, everybody. I hope you all are having a beautiful day. It is actually really nice outside, and I've been getting some really good news lately. But I'm going to keep it on the low until it and see how it plays out. But I just wanted to talk about being devoured by different concepts like corporate elitism and how a lot of times, certain times, humanity is doing detrimental things to itself. And what I mean is, a lot of times the things that we go after can be vain, and we're feeding a machine that's continually consuming our resources. So you got to think, when you had all the mom and pop stores, they did what they needed to survive and keep going, and society was happy. But then when you get into an institution where you have a lot of bigger corporate stores and bigger corporate institutions, what happens is those corporate institutions seek to survive. And so what they're doing is they're dishing a lot of money into advertising, outsourcing, um, events, and different things like that, and paying higher ups to keep. What they do is they try to get the most. You have people that invest in a company and own it, investments, and then you have people that work for the company who are elites. When I say elites, you're looking at people with like extremely expensive degrees, Harvard, Princeton, different institutions like that. And what ends up happening is they want the people who are so elite that it becomes like a rat race. And so even if you just pay attention to what I just said, you have a situation where now these corporations are alive. I mean, they're not walking and talking and things like that, but they have an institution. They have different people who are in different places who all want to keep their jobs. They all want to keep the company running smoothly. Even when dealing with a lot of like companies, the biggest problem is like law, lawyers, law, different things, which isn't the biggest, because you need regulations. You want the food to be clean, gloves, health, all that other stuff, food safety. But sometimes people are so corrupt with lawsuits, and people do things that are just so wild that you have to end up having a bunch of, you have to have a legal team. And so, but sometimes the legality of the situation becomes extremely corrupt, and people begin to love their lifestyle, and they want more and more after a while. I'll give you an example, like me personally. Yeah, I'm out here looking for jobs, but the reason I'm okay still is because I told you guys I'm from this type of environment. When I was growing up, I was in Chicago. I was in the gutter. Then we came to Bloomington, and we were in the gutter still housing. And, you know, my OG wasn't really a nurse until I was grown, and my dad was, having his problems finding work and whatnot, which is why this is ironic. But, anyways, what I mean? Life was kind of harder for me. We had candles a lot. I remember one time it was scary, but it was inspirational. We were doing the whole. I was much younger, and we were in Bloomington already, and we were doing devotion. And so the lights were off or whatever, and we had candles, and everybody had their Bibles, and we were all reading. And I told you, like, sometimes the psychology of it can confuse kids and make them scared. So we would always be talking about like hell and demons and don't miss the mark and don't betray God. And so, it'd be terrifying. You're sitting there in the dark with the candles. It feels like you're at an Empire meeting or something like that, and the Sith Lords are. I'm not, like, because the irony of it is the most safe thing ever. If you're in another country watching me right now talk, you're probably like, man, he had food, his parents, all he had to do is have candles and stuff. But you don't understand the psychology of it. You're from the struggle, so you probably don't think. I mean, I'm from the struggle. It's hard to explain, like, when you're in a certain mindset, and I hear certain people in my comments sometimes, they'll be like, oh, it's so sad that people are caught in the system. Because I talked about religion a lot. And a lot of people ask me all the time, why do you dwell on religion? Get out of this stuff. Go make your own huge name. And I'm telling people, like, when you see people arguing with Christians and religious people, especially atheists, they don't see what's on the inside. They have been petrified. If you play a game called Legend of Zelda on the 64, sometimes you fight monsters, and when he sees them, he gets petrified and stands still. I forget what they're called. That's what's happening in a lot of these religions, man, in these institutions. When people are afraid, they are afraid. I had a commenter tell me one time they're terrified of God in my live video, but my content brings them comfort. And I was like, if I'm going to think about being terrified of God, this is the best way I can explain it. Like, if I'm living my life and the most detrimental, heinous thought comes from it, just something I know is wrong, I rebuke thee, Satan, boom. Now, if I go with that thought and I know it's wrong, like I'm just thinking, I'm not even gonna say it, but you know what I mean, like just crazy stuff, and you know it's wrong. You're like, no, I'm not gonna do that. Bow. You just kept it true, faithful and true. You didn't transgress. Simple as that. Now, see, when I say that, sometimes people then go into that book and they're like, oh, don't transgress. What's his will? You see what I'm saying? Like, let's get out of the book and now think in the real world. You know what I'm saying? Like, look both ways before you cross the street. Why? Because the danger involved with that. Stuff like that's real world things. You know what I mean? And so, just like corporate, religion can be a machine and it just eats and eats and eats and it devours and devours. Not because any of these things are alive, but the people who are involved with it are, and their minds can get caught in that psychological matrix at the time instead of being free. You can't tell me, especially after being a father, you can't tell me that something created all of us and it's like, oh, I'm going to destroy them for their lack of knowledge and wisdom. And I'm going to send holy men to confound them with mysteries of who I am. Like, you see what I'm saying? They're creating fear and tactics to keep people enslaved. And so that's why I try to warn people to the best of my ability, you know what I mean? It's about your inner kingdom and knowing who you are on the inside. And see, like when I say know who you are, sometimes people are like getting all this Nephilim and Greek philosophy and Egyptian Ra and all that. Guys, like, I mean, okay, me. Okay, so I know I'm brown, and then we have like Africa, but I'm in America, so I'm African American. My family's from here, but I got a little bit of Polish and an assortment of other things in me. So, you know what I mean? Whatever. And then, me personally, I like video games. I smoke a little weed. I don't say that to say everybody go smoke. That's me on my journey. I like music a lot. You know what I mean? I can entertain myself, but I also love company. You know what I mean? There's just certain things about me. Certain videos I like, certain movies I like. That's for me. Now, I try, in my life, I try to be as, because me personally, I have a vivid imagination, but I'm grounded to who I am, or I'm grounded to the earth. So I can joke, I can say many things in my mind and imagine many things, but at the end of the day, I know who I am and I stay grounded in reality, if that makes sense. And so, 006, 00067. So that's just a little James Bond joke for anybody who's aware of who James Bond is. But, like, I'm not teaching people to go boycott, but if sometimes you gotta do it, whatever's necessary. But what I'm teaching people is basically stop feeding such vain things if you can, and live simply. Or even when I say live simply, like, I don't want people to think I'm saying go to the hills and get a banjo and like, oh, Dan Tucker was a fine old man, do those old nursery rhymes. No, I'm talking about not doing as much as we were doing before. You know what I mean? Feeding the machine of corporatism, feeding the machine of religion. You know what I mean? We can do whatever. Maybe videos of people playing instruments or playing. I've been seeing these chicks play the guitar. Oh, thank you for that. I've been seeing people play guitar and do many other things. You know what I mean? Play instruments. I like the saxophone. I love the violin. I love both of those, actually. I love the electric guitar. I love relaxing music. I love all kinds of music, but I love metal too. A friend of mine years ago, it's funny because sometimes I keep things in the memory banks. I said, you want to hear something one time? He's like, what's up? And so I did a growl. I was like, now see, people see me do that, and they're like, oh, I don't know what they'll think, but what I'm saying is don't fret. It's called metal. And it's called growling on top of metal and stuff. And years ago, he told me, he's like, man, don't ever let nobody hear you, blah, 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 blah. Then years later, we growing up, drinking, getting older. And dude talked to me on the phone years later, and he was like, man, that growling shit was the most amazing thing, bro. Every time it's just like, whoa, and I got music, so I'm like, yeah, bro, I told you. It's when we stop looking at because a lot of people hear that, and they be like, devil's music, or you're African American, why are you doing that? It's like, y'all are so caged in, I don't know. But also I teach people disclaimer, don't just go around screaming. It can destroy your vocal cords if you're not careful. And a lot of artists who do that over the years have trouble later in life. But even if you pay attention, people will say metal's the devil music. But if you listen to a lot of metal, they're against the machine and they're against the man. And when I say against the man, I'm just simply saying they don't like all the bullcrap that's going on either. Especially if you listen to Opeth, that's like against religion. And a lot of these other people, System of a Down, and Tool, and all these other bands, you know what I mean? They talk about this a lot. I like Kurt Cobain and Nirvana and Alice in Chains. I love those bands. Seether too. I got to give a shout out to Seether. But in the midst of all this going on, I guess they arrested Diddy finally, and I don't know what's exactly going on with him. But I told y'all, man, sometimes people get some power and they forget that they live around other humans, and they get an elitist mindset. They start feeding the machine, and the machine starts feeding them. And so how they be going after Bill Cosby and Diddy and all these other people, like, bro, a lot of these elites are going to be exposed, because what they're doing is going after certain people. I've used this as an example before. They went after, like, okay, Kanye, like, bro, saying you love Hitler is kind of out there, bro. But, like Kyrie Irving, y'all will let Trump say all these things all day long and he could still run for president. I looked up some resources and I heard some people died after that, injecting bleach and light stuff he said. That's wild to me. But y'all can get on. I saw that Kyrie Irving was catching flack, and Kaepernick was catching flack for not bowing to the flag. I told y'all they're idolaters. They create these systems and they want you to break all these. I was even watching a commercial or show, and the lady said something, and it was like super anti-God, and I was like, what? They just slide it in there because the word God doesn't. I don't care. It's from Germanic paganism. But what I don't understand is they create this huge institution of God and holiness. Then they put it everywhere to mock it. They're the ones that created it, and then they mock it. This is what I'm trying to get you to understand. Like the founding fathers had slaves, and they were super Christian. You see what I'm saying? They'll talk about the Old Testament as null and void, but they went off of the Old Testament. So that's why I don't. If the law of Moses is dead, then why'd y'all have slaves? They'd be lying. And I keep telling y'all should research William Tyndale. If y'all can give any reverence to somebody, y'all owe him a lot of reverence. That book, he wrote a righteous version of that book in English, and a bunch of the Germans and the English and other people ran off with it. Even the Pope did, so, after killing him. So, it's wild to me. But anyways, try not to be eaten by the machine. And that's just basically what I'm trying to get people to understand. You know, you guys have a lot of survival in you, especially as humans. This is our indigenous earth. You know what I mean? Even if you look at people, be like, even if you look at Caucasian people, like, they can't stand the sun and all sorts of stuff, but they can easily survive and adapt on this planet because they're from this planet, just like all of us. We need to stop acting silly. That whole teaching people that aliens came to Egypt is really messing up your civilizations and society in America and other places. And the History Channel, I don't know why you guys are allowed to do that. What are you doing? If you're going to say aliens came to Egypt, first of all, the illegal aliens, the Hyksos, did come to Egypt, Africa, and took a bunch of stuff and raided their stuff, and now it looks like a dump. You know what I mean? So it just does. Even India. Look at India. India was a beautiful place. Those little, I talked about this before. They had palaces and all kind of stuff. Beautiful place. And Mesopotamia, now look, and Afghanistan, all these places. Europe, man, they've been decimating. But it's kind of like, because they were, the Semitic people were decimating first. This is a written history, so that's what I'm trying to wake people up and show them that we're all humans. You know what I mean? And all this stupid stuff on the side is just feeding us dumbass lies and causing a lot of pain and confusion. So, you know, I keep trying to tell people, don't feed the machine. There's a lot of stuff out there that we don't know about. That, like, real talk, every day that I watch YouTube, or was watching YouTube, I got a little hack for that too. But every day I was watching YouTube, I was learning something new about something I didn't even know. Because I was researching and learning and getting the science and all this, and I'm like, man, there's like a cat. Then I started learning other civilizations and people and just everything. And it's like, oh my goodness, there's a whole world none of us know about really. And we just are closed into this American cycle or media, wherever we're from. If we're from China, Japan, all these other places, a lot of places are more democratic, but even the media, it's all like, a lot of it's propaganda, you know what I mean? So that's what I'm trying to get people to see, that there's worlds out there and we just are having trouble finding them because of racism, elitism, sexism. And I'm telling y'all have been hating on the LGBT. Like, I don't understand why straight men don't like gay men. When I say that, I don't mean like as whatever. I don't understand why y'all give them so much trouble. Even when I'm at workplaces, they'll be like, "Oh, look at him. He's thinking about me, or he likes me." It's like y'all are acting weird. That's what women do. I'm telling you it is. Right? I'm talking about. I'm not saying. Okay, so I should have just said that. Women back at the jungle gym, when we were younger, the little girls. That's what they used to do. Pss, 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 pss. Come on, man. But I love y'all, and I want y'all to have a good day. I want to teach as much as possible so that I can help free people and get them to understand. Like, because what's going to happen if you guys keep feeding the machine, these institutions are going to get richer and richer, and the people that are with them, they're going to keep paying the government, so the government's going to be richer and richer. And the gap's going to be so much, and the inflation and all that's going to tumble and topple people. And they bring in all these immigrants into this country. I'm telling you, I think they're trying to mow over certain areas in indigenous lands, and they're going to move people here. I don't know what their problems are, but it's, and I'm not saying, like, when I say that, I'm not saying it to hate, because even if you look, why are they moving all these immigrants here and then attacking them? It's just, they're like trying to create world wars, man. I don't understand it, and it needs to stop. So I love y'all. Have a good day. And what else did I want to talk about besides feeding the corporate and the religious machine? I made a statement in the past about paying certain institutions 10%. Yeah, you don't, like, they're making every member pay all this money in these churches. Okay, y'all need to start donating to people. If y'all gonna give money to the churches, okay, I know y'all gotta make money to even do things, but start helping people, man. Especially y'all rich institutions. This stuff don't make sense. It doesn't. You know what I'm saying? So I'm not saying give whatever y'all gonna do, but y'all are basically paying Melech, Zedek, or Melech 10% every time y'all pay these institutions, and they don't do anything. They're running y'all minds through fire with religion, but not helping or doing what the prophets are saying. So some of them are a little bit, but you see these apostles and these prophets run around in robes doing all this wild stuff to help save the world. But then you get to this civilization, let's have a soup kitchen on Thursday. Let's feed the poor. It's like, man, if y'all don't quit fucking playing with me with this goofy shit, it will all come to an end, and I will build things that matter if you all don't start listening to what I'm saying. So, I am who I am. I am the living one. I am the one who frees from the bondage of Egypt, or binds in Persia, Greece, Rome, and Babylon, if I need to. You shall have no gods before who I am. You shall not bow down to them or worship them. Have no idols. And that's why I tried to warn Kendrick Lamar, man. Whatever you finna do in the Super Bowl, I haven't seen somebody FB signifier. He was like, this. I forgot what he said about Kendrick, but y'all let these people egg y'all on if y'all want to. I'm telling you, that flag worship stuff's going to come to an end, especially if y'all run around talking about Yahweh and Jehovah. I'm gonna give you an example. Look at Jay-Z's names if I'm lying. He's Jehovah, right? Then why is his second name Jay-Z? Jay-Z, JB. I'm telling you. And him egging Kendrick to do this Super Bowl thing, I'm warning y'all. Because first of all, nothing's going to happen to my people anyway. But the people who egged them on to test things like that, y'all pissing me off.